Hey everyone, welcome to part 33 of my Pokemon game series in Unity. So in this video, we'll add an important feature to our trainer battle. So if the current Pokemon of the trainer faints, then we'll show a dialogue like the trainer is about to use the next Pokemon and do you want to change the Pokemon? Alright, and if we press no, then the battle will continue with our current Pokemon, and if we press yes, then we can switch our current Pokemon. Alright. So basically, the player will get a chance to switch his current Pokemon before the trainer sends out his next Pokemon. So we will implement that in this video, and we'll also fix some of the issues that we currently have in our trainer battles. Special thanks to all my Patreons for making the series possible. By becoming a Patreon, you can support me in the making of the series and get access to some cool rewards like the complete project files of the series, which also contains some advanced features that are not covered here. So let's start the video. So right now, if we step in front of the trainer, he'll challenge us for a battle, right? But if we go talk to him from a different side, you can see that nothing happens. So we should also start the trainer battle when the player interacts with the trainer. So to check if the player interacts with the trainer, we can use the interactable interface that we used for NPC. So this interface has a function called interact, which will be called when the player interacts with that game object. Alright, so what we can do is we can make the trainer controller implement the interactable interface. Okay, so now we are getting an error saying that trainer controller doesn't implement the interact function. So we can actually use control dot and select implement interface, and this will automatically create the interact function for us. Okay, let me just cut this and put it below my start function. So when the player interacts with the trainer, we don't have to walk towards the player or show the exclamation or anything like that. Instead, we just have to look towards the player and show the dialogue and start the battle. So to look towards the player, I'll use character dot look towards function that we created in an earlier video. So we also used it to make the NPC look towards the player. So we can use the same thing for the trainer also. I have to pass the position of the initiator. So yeah, now the trainer will look towards the player. So after that, we can just show the dialogue and start the battle immediately. So I'm going to copy this line. So this will show the dialogue and then start the trainer battle. So let's test this now. So if I go ahead and talk to the trainer, you can see that first the dialogue is shown and then we'll start the trainer battle. So that is working fine. So next, let's fix another issue that we have. So if we defeat the trainer in the battle, and then if we step in front of him once again, you can see that again he will challenge us for a battle. Alright, so we need to fix this. So what we can do is when the trainer loses a battle, we can simply disable the FOV game object so that the trainer will not challenge us for a battle again when we step in front of him. So inside my trainer controller script, I'll create a public function called battle lost, and in this function I'll disable my FOV game object. Alright, so now we have to call this function when the trainer loses the battle. So inside my game controller script, inside the end battle function, if the battle is actually a trainer battle, then we have to call trainer dot battle loss function, right? So how can we check if the battle is a trainer battle? So what I'll do is I'll create a private variable called trainer, and inside the start trainer battle function, I'll set this dot trainer equal to trainer that was passed out from the argument. Alright, so in the end battle function, now we can check if trainer is not equal to null. So this means it's a trainer battle. And we also have to check if the battle is won, right? So I'll say and won equal to true. Then we'll call trainer dot battle lost. And then we'll set the trainer variable to null. Alright, so now when the trainer loses a battle, we'll call the battle loss function and disable our FOB game object. So if the player steps in front of the trainer won't challenge for a battle. So we also have to handle another case. So we can also start a battle by interacting with the trainer. So in this case, we should only start the battle if the trainer has not lost a battle before. And otherwise, I'll just show a different dialog. So first we need a state to know if the trainer has already lost the battle. So what I'll do is I'll create a boolean called battle lost, and initially I'll set it to false. Okay, and when the battle loss function is called, I'll set it to true. And now in the interact function, we only want to call this if the battle lost is false, right? And otherwise, we can just show a different dialog. So for that, I'll create another dialog variable called dialog after battle, and then I'll just show that dialog. Alright, so let's go to Unity and assign a dialog for the dialog after battle. So let me enter some dialog for it. Okay, so let's test this now. So let me try to beat the trainer really quick. So yeah, now we beat the trainer, and now if we walk in front of him, he will not challenge us for battle. But if we go and talk to him, you can see that the dialogue after battle is shown, and now he acts like a normal NPC, right? He won't challenge us for a battle anymore. So next there is another issue that we need to fix. So if one of the trainer Pokemons faints after taking damage from a status condition like burn or poison, then right now we'll get a weird bug. So the problem is, in our run after turn function, if the Pokemon faints due to a status condition like burn or poison, then we won't wait for the trainer to send the next Pokemon, right? So after this line, we are not doing any waiting. So battle system will go to the next turn of the player before the trainer actually sends out the new Pokemon. So this can be fixed by waiting until the trainer sends out the next Pokemon. So I can use the same wait until function, and we can wait until the state comes back to running turn, right? When the trainer sends the next Pokemon, the state will be busy, and once that's over, it'll come back to running turn. So we can fix that issue simply by waiting till the state comes back to running turn. Alright, so now we have fixed all the issues in trainer battle. So next let's implement a cool feature. So before the trainer sends out a new Pokemon, we'll show in the dialog box that the trainer is about to use this Pokemon, and we'll let the player switch his current Pokemon if he wants. Okay, so first let me create the UI for it. So let me enable my battle system, and under the dialog box we will create a choice box over here. So it'll have two choices, yes or no. And if the player chooses yes, then he can switch the Pokemon. And if he chooses no, then we'll just continue the battle without switching Pokemon. Alright, so under my dialog box game object, I'll create an image and I'll call this choice box. Alright, and for the image, I'll choose the same image as that of the dialog box. I guess the name wasn't changed, so let me do that again. Alright, and let me reposition it. So it's behind the HUD right now. So what I'll do is I'll drag the dialog box below both the HUDs. So now you can see that it's visible. So next, I'll change its size to something like 150 by 120. That looks good. And I need to text inside it. So let me just copy a text from my action selector so that I won't have to set the font and all that again. And let me paste it here and put it inside the choice box. Okay, so I'll name this text as yes text, and I'll hold Control and Alt and change its anchor and position to center. Alright, so next I'll change the text to yes, and then I'll change the alignment to center both vertically and horizontally. Okay, and let me just reposition this a bit, and I'll duplicate this to create the no text. Okay, so let me reposition the no text. So yeah, that looks fine to me. So we don't want this to be active by default, so let me just disable it. Alright, so next let's change our battle dialog box script in order to include the choice box also. Alright, so in here I'll create a game object for the choice box, and then I'll create two variables for the yes and no text. Okay, so next we need a function to enable the choice box, just like we have a function for action selector, move selector and all. So let me just copy this and I'll name this enable choice box, and I'll say choice box dot set active. Okay, so next we need a function to update the selection inside the choice box. So I'll just copy this function and I'll name it update choice box. So since we only have two choices, we don't have to loop through them, and actually we don't even have to use an integer, right? Since we only have two choices, we can use a boolean, and I'll call this boolean yes select. Okay, and if yes select is true, then we'll set yes text dot color equal to highlighted color, and we'll set the no text color to black. All right, and otherwise we'll just do the opposite. All right, so now in Unity we can assign the choice box and the text. So let me assign the choice box first, and then I'll assign the yes text and no text. I actually named this as not text, so let me change that. So next we need to show the choice box when the trainer is about to use a Pokemon. So in my battle system script, first I'll create a state called about to use. All right, so we'll go to the state when the trainer is about to use a new Pokemon. So just like for all other states, we'll create a function to start the state. and this function will take the new Pokemon that the trainer is going to use. So in this function, first we need to show a dialog saying the trainer is about to use this Pokemon. So I'll show a dialog like this saying the trainer is about to use the new Pokemon, and do you want to change the Pokemon? Alright, and if we want to show the dialog, then we have to make this a coroutine. So I'll change its return type to IEnumerator. So while the dialog is being shown, I want my state to be busy so that nothing else happens. And after we show the dialog, I'll set the state to about to use, and then I'll also enable my choice box. Okay, so I'll call the enable choice box function and pass true. So now inside the check for battle over function, if the trainer has any healthy Pokemon left, then instead of sending the next Pokemon immediately, we will go to the about to use state. So let's call the about to use function and pass the next Pokemon. Alright. So next we need a function to handle the about to use state. So inside my handle update function, if the state is equal to about to use, then I'll call a function call handle about to use. Okay, so let's create this function. So I'll create it below the handle party selection. So inside this function, we want to update our selection just like we do for move selection and action selection and all, right? So first we need a variable, and since we only have two choices, we can use a Boolean variable, and I'll name this about to use choice, and initially I'll set it to true. And now whenever the user presses the up or down arrow key, we need to change the choice, right? So I'll check if the user presses the down or up arrow key, and if any of these keys are pressed, then we have to change our current choice, right? So I'll say about to use choice, and I'll just negate it. So if it was true, then it will become false, and if it was false, then it will become true. So next we have to update the selected choice in the UI. So below this, I'll call dialog box dot update choice box, and I'll just pass my about to use choice boolean. Alright, so now after the trainer Pokemon faints, we should show this choice box. So let's actually go to Unity and test this. So we have to disable the battle system, and let me try testing this. So if I beat this trainer Pokemon, as you can see that we are showing the trainer is about to use Butterfree, and do you want to change the Pokemon? And we are also showing our choice box, and we can actually change our choice by pressing up and down arrow key. Alright, so that's working fine. The only problem I have is dialog text is actually kind of small, so we need to make it a bit more big. So let me go to the battle system, and we can make the dialog box a bit more big. I guess there's no point in doing that once the text is already rendered. So let's stop the game and enable the battle system. And let's make the dialog text a bit more bigger. Okay, so let me just disable the battle system. So next, if the player chooses the yes option, then we should go to the party screen and let the player choose the new Pokemon. And otherwise, if the player chooses the no option, then we can continue the battle without switching. So let's implement that. So in the handle about to use function, if the Z key is pressed, then first we have to disable the choice box. So I'll say dialog box dot enable choice box and pass false. Alright, and then if the value of about to use choice box is true, then it means it's the yes option, and otherwise it's no option. Okay, so if it's the no option, we just have to call send next trainer Pokemon and send out the next trainer Pokemon. So under the no option, I'll call send next trainer Pokemon, and we have to put this inside start coroutine. But to this function, we have to pass the next Pokemon, right? But we don't have a reference to the next Pokemon in this function. So what I'll do is I'll actually remove this parameter and I'll get it from inside the function itself. So I'll call trainer party dot get healthy Pokemon in order to get the next Pokemon. Okay, so now the error here should be gone. And if it's a yes option, then we should open the party screen and let the player choose the Pokemon to switch, right? So I'll call open party screen. So when the player selects a Pokemon from the party screen, the switch Pokemon function will be called. And what we have to do is, if we came from the about to use state to the party screen, then we have to send out the trainer Pokemon, right? So what I'll do is, before opening the party screen, I'll set the previous state to about to use, so that here we will know where we came from, right? So I'll set previous state to battle state dot about to use. Okay, and inside the switched Pokemon, if the previous state is null, then we'll simply go back to the running turn state just like before. And otherwise, if it's equal to about to use, then I'll send out the next trainer Pokemon. Let me put this inside a start coroutine. Okay, and we'll also set the previous state to null. So in the handle about to use, we handle both the yes and no option. And if the player presses the X key, it's actually the no option, right? So I'll say else if the X key is pressed, then first I'll disable the choice box, and then I'll just send out the next trainer Pokemon. Alright, so there is one more case that we need to handle. So inside handle party selection function, so if the player presses the X key from the party screen, then right now we are going back to action selection state, right? But if we came to the party screen from the about to use state, then we should go back to the about to use state itself. So what I'll do is I'll check if the prev state is equal to about to use, and in that case we'll set the state back to about to use. Okay, and otherwise we'll go to the action selection state. Okay, so this should be battle states dot about to use. All right, and while we are here, let me do one more thing. So if we came to the party screen because the player's current Pokemon fainted, then we should not allow the player to press X and go back to the battle, right? The player must select a Pokemon in order to continue. So I'll check if player unit dot Pokemon dot HP is less than or equal to 0. Okay, so this means we came to the party screen because the player's current Pokemon fainted. So in this case, we don't want to run any of this because we don't want to go back to the battle. So we'll just return from here itself. And just to give a feedback, I'll show a message like you have to choose a Pokemon to continue. So now if the player's Pokemon fainted, he won't be able to continue the battle until he chooses a new one. Alright. Actually, if the previous state is about to use, I don't want to go to the about to use state again. Instead, what I want to do is send out the next trainer Pokemon. Okay. So if we came to the party screen from the about to use state, and then if we press X, then the player will not switch his current Pokemon, and the trainer will send out the next Pokemon and continue the battle. Okay, so I think this is how it's done in the original game. So let's do it like that. Also, we have to clear the previous state before calling the send next trainer Pokemon function. So I'll set the previous state to null. So before we test, I want to fix a mistake that I made earlier in the switch Pokemon function. So in here, we are going to the running turn state if previous state is not equal to null, right? But we should actually go to the running turn if previous state is equal to null. Okay, so this was a mistake that I made earlier. So now let's go to Unity and test if the about to use feature is working properly. Looks like the trainer is not playing the walking animation. So let me check what the issue is. So it looks like the update function is missing in the trainer controller script. So I might have forgot to add it in the previous video, or I might have accidentally removed it while playing with the script. So anyways, let's add it again. Okay, and inside the update function, we should call character.handleUpdate. Alright, only then the animation will be played. So let's test this now. Okay, so the walking animation is playing correctly now. And let's test the about to use feature. Okay, after the current Pokemon faints, we are going to the about to use. And if we select yes, then we'll go to the party screen. And let me try switching my current Pokemon. Okay, and after that, the trainer will send the next Pokemon and continue the battle. So yeah, things are working fine. So next, let's also test the no condition. Okay, so if I select no, then we won't change the current Pokemon and we'll continue the battle. Okay, so the about to use feature is working fine. So I'll stop the video here. If you think this video is helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel. That'll really help me a lot. So I'll see you in the next video.